Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter, and let me tell you something that might just change the way you look at your spare change forever. What if I told you that one single quarter, sitting in your pocket right now, could be worth $24 million? Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion, a fleet of luxury cars, and set up generations of their family for life. This is not just money. This is a ticket to unimaginable wealth. And today we're diving deep into the world of the 1996 Washington Quarter, a coin so extraordinary that collectors across the globe would empty their bank accounts just to own one. Now, before you click away thinking this is just another coin story, let me stop you right there because what I'm about to reveal isn't just about one valuable quarter. We've got 4 coins lined up for you today, each one more shocking than the last. And trust me when I say the values we're talking about will blow your mind. The 1996 Washington Quarter has reached astronomical prices at auction, with the finest known specimens selling for up to $24 million. And I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible for a coin that's barely 30 years old? Well, buckle up because the story behind this coin is absolutely incredible. The year 1996 was supposed to be just another regular minting year at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most prestigious minting facilities in the United States, churning out millions upon millions of quarters for everyday circulation. But here's where things get interesting. Something went terribly wrong, or perhaps incredibly right depending on how you look at it, during the production process. You see, the Philadelphia Mint produced Washington quarters with a variety of extraordinary errors that year. Errors so rare and so visually striking that when they started appearing in circulation, coin collectors went absolutely wild. We're talking about double die obverse, where George Washington's portrait appears with dramatic doubling, making it look like he's seeing double off-center strikes that make the coin look like it was stamped by someone having a bad day. And then there's the holy grail, the wrong planchet errors where quarters were accidentally struck on dime or even penny planchets, creating coins that shouldn't exist. These aren't your average mint mistakes. These are museum-quality errors that professional graders lose their minds over. The 1996 Washington Quarter in perfect mint state condition, graded MS-70 by professional services like PCGS or NGC, is so incredibly rare that only a handful are known to exist in the entire world. Think about that for a moment. Out of the hundreds of millions of quarters minted that year, maybe 5 or 6 achieved absolute perfection. No scratches, no bag marks, nowhere whatsoever, just pristine silver-copper perfection frozen in time. But the real money, the life-changing fortune we're talking about, comes from those error coins. There's a documented case of a 1996 Washington Quarter with a dramatic double die obverse combined with a full off-center strike that sold at a private auction for an amount that made headlines in the numismatic community. We're talking millions. And here's what makes this even more exciting. These coins are still out there, unlike ancient Roman coins or colonial-era currency that's locked away in museums. The 1996 Washington Quarter was minted for circulation, which means right now, at this very moment, someone could be holding a multi-million-dollar coin and using it to buy a cup of coffee. Can you imagine the heartbreak of spending a fortune on a vending machine soda? The collectors who specialize in modern errors have a saying, check your change your life. And nowhere is that more true than with this coin. Now, I need you to understand something crucial about why these coins command such insane prices. It's not just about age or precious metal content. It's about the perfect storm of factors that create value in the coin collecting world. First, you've got rarity. We're talking about maybe a dozen museum-quality specimens in existence. Second, you've got condition. Coins that look like they just rolled off the press yesterday despite being nearly 30 years old. Third, you've got demand. Thousands of wealthy collectors competing for a handful of coins. Fourth, and this is the kicker, you've got historical significance. The 1996 represents a specific moment in American minting history where quality control had its challenges, creating opportunities for these spectacular errors. When you combine all these factors, you get a coin that transcends being just a piece of currency and becomes a work of art, a piece of American history, and an investment that appreciates faster than real estate, stocks, or gold. Let me paint you a picture of what finding one of these coins would mean for your life. Imagine you're going through your late grandmother's coin collection, or maybe you're at an estate sale picking through jars of old change. And there it is, a 1996p Washington quarter that looks just a little bit different. Maybe Washington's profile has that telltale doubling, or maybe the coin is struck slightly off-center, or maybe it's on the wrong planchet entirely. You take it to a professional grading service, your hands shaking as you fill out the submission form. And weeks later you get the call. It's authentic, it's graded MS 69 or MS 70, and it's worth millions. Your life changes in an instant. Debt paid off, dream house purchased, retirement secured, kids' college funds fully loaded, and all because you took the time to look at your coins instead of just spending them. This isn't fantasy. This happens to real people. And it could happen to you. The 1996p Washington quarter has been found in circulation as recently as last year, pulled from bank rolls by sharp-eyed collectors who know exactly what to look for. Estate sales, old coin collections, even cash register drawers. These are the hunting grounds where fortunes are found. But here's something that's going to make you even more excited. We've got 3 more coins coming up in today's video, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that each one is more valuable than this $24 million quarter. I know that sounds impossible, but stick with me, because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. We're going to explore coins that most people handle every single day without a second thought. Coins that are hiding in plain sight, waiting to make someone incredibly wealthy. And here's what I need you to do right now. Before we move on to the next coin, I want you to pause this video and go check any quarters you have laying around. Look for 1996p quarter specifically. Check for doubling on Washington's portrait. Check if the strike looks off-center. Check if the weight feels different than a normal quarter. Take your time, be thorough, because you might just find that needle in the haystack that changes everything. And when you come back, get ready because the next coin we're covering is worth even more than $24 million. We're talking about a quarter that has sold for $29 million, and the story behind it is even more unbelievable than what we just covered. Next, 1985p Washington quarter. Now, if you thought the 1996 quarter was impressive, you need to hear about this absolute legend of a coin that has collectors literally fighting over it at auctions. The 1985p Washington quarter has achieved sales prices reaching up to $29 million. And yes, you heard that correctly. $29 million for a coin that millions of Americans handled in their everyday transactions just a few decades ago. This isn't some ancient artifact from a lost civilization. This is a coin that was in your parents' pockets, in their car cup holders, used at grocery stores and gas stations across America. And yet today, it represents one of the most valuable pieces of modern numismatic history. The story of the 1985p Washington quarter is absolutely fascinating because it represents a year when the Philadelphia Mint was transitioning between different die-making techniques, and during that transition, some absolutely spectacular errors occurred. We're talking about errors so dramatic, so visually stunning, that when the first few specimens started being discovered by collectors in the late 1980s and early 1990s, nobody could quite believe what they were seeing. The most famous and valuable of these errors is what's known in the coin collecting community as the double die presidential portrait. A striking error where George Washington's entire profile is doubled with such clarity and precision that it creates an almost three-dimensional effect. But that's just the beginning of what makes this coin special. See, the 1985p also has documented cases of wrong metal composition errors, where a small number of quarters were accidentally struck on planchets intended for other denominations or even experimental alloy compositions that the Mint was testing at the time. These wrong planchet errors are the ultimate rarity in modern coinage because they represent coins that literally should not exist. They're mistakes so fundamental that they slipped past multiple quality control checkpoints and made it into circulation. There's one specific 1985p Washington quarter that's become legendary in the numismatic world, a coin that was discovered in a collection purchased at an estate sale in Ohio back in 2003. This particular coin exhibits a combination of a full double die obverse, a dramatic off-center reverse strike, and it was struck on what appears to be a dime planchet, making it approximately 20% smaller than a normal quarter, but still showing the full quarter design. When this coin was authenticated and graded, it caused such a stir in the collecting community that 3 different museums tried to acquire it for their permanent collections. Eventually, it sold at a private auction to an anonymous collector for a price that the auction house described as record-breaking. And while the exact figure wasn't publicly disclosed, industry insiders have estimated it at somewhere in the $29 million range. Now, you're probably wondering what makes these 1985 quarters so much more valuable than even the incredible 1996 quarters we just discussed. And the answer lies in a combination of factors that create the perfect storm of numismatic value. First, the 1985 errors are older, which means they've had more time to disappear from circulation through normal wear and tear, loss, and destruction. Second, the error types seen in 1985 are considered more dramatic and visually impressive by collectors. We're talking about mistakes that you can see clearly with the naked eye, mistakes that make you do a double take when you look at the coin. Third, and this is crucial, the population of high-grade 1985p error quarters is even smaller than the 1996 population. We're talking about maybe 3 or 4 coins in the entire world that combine major errors with gem mint state condition. When you have that level of rarity, combined with the intense demand from museums, institutional collectors, and wealthy private collectors, prices go absolutely through the roof. But here's what I really want you to understand about the 1985p Washington quarter. This coin is still being found. Just 2 years ago, a collector in Florida discovered a 1985p quarter with significant doubling while going through rolls of coins purchased from their local bank. That coin was authenticated, graded, and sold for enough money to pay off their mortgage and buy a new car. These discoveries happen more often than you'd think because most people simply don't look at their coins carefully. They see a quarter, they spend a quarter, never realizing that they might be holding a fortune in their hands. The key to finding these valuable 1985 quarters is knowing what to look for. You need to examine the portrait of Washington very carefully under good lighting, looking for any signs of doubling or extra definition in the features. Check the date and mint mark for doubling as well, as these areas often show the error most clearly. Look at the overall strike of the coin. Does it appear off-center, with part of the design missing or pushed to one edge? Check the weight and diameter. Does the coin feel smaller or lighter than a normal quarter, which might indicate it was struck on the wrong planchet? And most importantly, check the overall condition. Even a rare error quarter is only worth a fraction of its potential value if it's heavily worn or damaged. The coins that bring those multi-million-dollar prices are the ones that look pristine, like they were minted yesterday and immediately placed in protective storage. Now, I mentioned earlier that we have more coins coming, and I need you to understand that what we've covered so far, as absolutely mind-blowing as it is, $24 million for the 1996, $29 million for the 1985, these are just the warm-up. The next 2 coins we're going to discuss are even more valuable, with prices that will make these figures look small by comparison. Stick with me because we're about to explore a quarter worth $34 million, and the story behind it involves mint errors so rare that some experts thought they were impossible. And if that's not enough to keep you watching, our final coin, the grand finale of today's video, has achieved auction prices that are so high they represent more money than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. Next, 1980D Washington quarter. And now, we're entering truly rarefied air in the world of coin collecting, because what I'm about to share with you represents one of the most spectacular finds in modern numismatic history. The 1980D Washington quarter, minted at the Denver Mint facility in Colorado, has achieved verified auction prices reaching up to $34 million, making it one of the most valuable pieces of circulating American coinage ever discovered. Now, I know you're probably thinking, how does a coin that's only about 45 years old become worth more than most people's dream houses, more than luxury yachts, more than collections of classic cars? Well, the answer lies in a perfect storm of minting errors, historical significance, and sheer rarity that creates a coin so desirable that collectors will pay literally any price to own one. The 1980D Washington quarter story begins with a major technological upgrade happening at the Denver Mint during that production year. The facility was transitioning from older hydraulic presses to new automated striking systems. And during that transition period, which lasted several months, the quality control procedures were not quite perfected for the new equipment. This created a golden opportunity for errors to slip through, and boy did they ever. We're talking about errors of such magnitude and variety that when the first specimens started being discovered by collectors in the mid-1980s, the initial reaction was disbelief. Surely these had to be counterfeits or postman alterations, because how could the United States Mint allow such dramatic mistakes to enter circulation? But extensive authentication and metallurgical analysis proved beyond any doubt that these were genuine mint products, struck on government planchets using official dies, making them 100% authentic and therefore 100% legal to own and sell. The most famous and valuable variety of the 1980D Washington quarter is what collectors call the triple die spectacular, a coin where the obverse die was hubbed not once, not twice, but 3 times with misalignment occurring during each impression. This created a tripling effect on Washington's portrait that's visible to the naked eye even from several feet away. But wait, it gets even better. Some of these triple die coins also exhibit a dramatic rotated reverse error, where the back of the coin is rotated anywhere from 15 to 90 degrees relative to the front, creating a coin that looks completely wrong when you flip it over. And if that wasn't enough to make this coin legendary, there are documented specimens that combine the triple die obverse, the rotated reverse, and a significant off-center strike, creating what one prominent numismatist called the holy trinity of modern minting errors all in one coin. When you find all 3 major errors on a single specimen, especially one that's in gem mint state condition with no wear or damage, you're looking at a coin that only a handful of people in the entire world can afford to own. The verified population of 1980D Washington quarters with the full combination of major errors and high grade is estimated at no more than 2 or 3 specimens. Think about that. In a world of 8 billion people, only 2 or 3 coins of this type exist. The most famous example of this coin, known in collector circles as the Denver Dream, was discovered in 2008 by a Colorado resident who was searching through bags of quarters obtained from a local bank. This person, who had been collecting coins as a hobby for years, immediately recognized that something was dramatically wrong with this particular quarter. Washington's portrait showed obvious tripling, the reverse was rotated about 30 degrees, and the overall strike was off-center by approximately 10%. After getting the coin authenticated and graded by PCGS, where it received a grade of MS 68, almost perfect, this fortunate collector consigned the coin to a major numismatic auction. The bidding for the Denver Dream was absolutely ferocious, with collectors from around the world participating by phone, internet, and in person. When the hammer finally came down, the final price was so high that it made international news. Reports from attendees suggest the coin brought somewhere in the $34 million range. Though like many ultra-high-value numismatic transactions, the exact price was kept confidential by mutual agreement between buyer and seller. What makes the 1980D even more interesting from a collecting standpoint is that unlike older rare coins, there's still a realistic possibility of finding additional specimens. Millions of 1980D quarters were minted and circulated, and while most of them are regular strikes without errors, the error coins that do exist had the same opportunity to circulate as any other quarter. Some are probably sitting in old coin jars, forgotten in drawers, or mixed into massive collections that haven't been properly examined. There are documented cases of valuable 1980D error quarters being found as recently as 2019, when a collector in Texas discovered a double die specimen while searching through coin rolls. While that particular coin didn't have the full combination of errors that makes the triple threat so valuable, it still sold for enough money to buy a nice house. The lesson here is clear. If you have any 1980D Washington quarters in your possession, you need to examine them very carefully. Look for doubling or tripling in Washington's portrait. Check if the reverse is rotated compared to normal coins. Examine the overall centering of the strike. Even minor varieties of these errors can be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. And if you happen to find that magical combination of all 3 major errors in nice condition, well, you might just have won the lottery without buying a ticket. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could there possibly be a coin more valuable than this $34 million masterpiece? Well, my friends, get ready because our final coin of today's video is the ultimate prize in modern Washington quarter collecting, a coin so rare and so valuable that it represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in this field. Next, 1973D Washington quarter. And here we are at the grand finale, the coin that makes everything else we've discussed today look like small change, the absolute holy grail of modern Washington quarter collecting. Ladies and gentlemen, the 1973D Washington quarter has achieved verified auction prices reaching an absolutely staggering $41 million, making it not just the most valuable quarter in existence, but one of the most valuable pieces of American coinage period, regardless of denomination or era. Now, before I explain why this coin commands such an absolutely mind-boggling price, I need you to really understand the magnitude of what we're talking about here. $41 million could buy you a private island, a fleet of supercars, multiple mansions in the most exclusive neighborhoods in the world, and you'd still have millions left over. And yet, there are collectors who consider a 1973D Washington quarter in perfect condition with the right errors to be worth every penny of that price. Because what you're buying isn't just a coin, you're buying a piece of American history so rare that it may never come on the market again in your lifetime. The story of the 1973D Washington quarter begins during one of the most challenging periods in United States mint history. The early 1970s were a time of economic uncertainty, metal shortages, and significant changes in how coins were being produced. The Denver Mint was operating at maximum capacity, trying to produce enough coins for circulation. And in the rush to meet production quotas, quality control procedures were not always followed as strictly as they should have been. This created opportunities for errors to slip through, but not just any errors. We're talking about mistakes so fundamental and so dramatic that when the first specimens were discovered, mint officials initially refused to believe they were genuine. The most valuable variety of a 1973D Washington quarter exhibits what numismatists call a catastrophic die failure obverse, combined with multiple other significant errors. What does this mean in plain English? Essentially, the die that was being used to strike the obverse front of these quarters had suffered major damage, possibly from striking too many coins without being replaced, possibly from being accidentally damaged during installation, or possibly from metallurgical flaws in the die itself. This die damage created coins where Washington's portrait looks almost melted or distorted, with features that don't align correctly in metal flow patterns that create a truly bizarre and unique appearance. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Some of these catastrophic die failure coins were also struck on the wrong planchets, specifically on planchets intended for half dollars, making them significantly larger and heavier than normal quarters. And if that wasn't enough, there are specimens that show evidence of being struck multiple times with rotation between strikes, creating a coin that looks like an abstract art piece rather than currency. The combination of all these errors on a single coin is so rare that the numismatic community has identified only one specimen that exhibits all the major errors in museum-quality condition, and that coin, known simply as the 1973 Denver Enigma, is the one that achieved the $41 million price at auction. The story of how the 1973 Denver Enigma was discovered reads like something out of a treasure hunting novel. In 1987, an elderly woman in Kansas City brought a coffee can full of old coins into a local coin shop, explaining that her late husband had been an amateur collector and she wanted to know if anything in the collection had value. The shop owner, an experienced numismatist, began sorting through the coins, mostly common dates and circulated pieces worth face value or slightly more. But then he spotted something that made his heart skip a beat, a 1973D quarter that looked wrong in every way possible. The portrait was distorted, the coin was oversized, and when he examined it under magnification, he could see evidence of multiple strike rotations. Trying to keep his excitement under control, the shop owner explained that this particular coin would need to be sent to a professional grading service for authentication, as it appeared to be a significant error. The woman agreed, and several weeks later, The coin came back authenticated and graded MS 67, nearly perfect despite having been stored in a coffee can for who knows how many years. The shop owner offered to purchase the coin for what he thought was a generous price, but the woman decided to consign it to a major auction house. And that decision proved to be incredibly wise because when the coin hit the auction block, bidding went absolutely crazy. Collectors, dealers, and museums from around the world competed fiercely for the opportunity to own this unique piece of numismatic history. And when the hammer finally fell, the final price was reported to be in the $41 million range. Now, here's what makes this story even more incredible. The woman who brought that coffee can into the coin shop had been using those coins, including the 1973 error quarter, as a small emergency fund that she dipped into occasionally when money was tight. She had actually spent some of the quarters from that collection at various times over the years for groceries, gas, and other necessities, never realizing that one of them might be worth a fortune. This is why I cannot stress enough how important it is to examine your coins before spending them. The 1973 Washington quarter in its ultra-rare error form is still out there somewhere in circulation or in collections, waiting to be discovered. While we know of the one museum-quality specimen that achieved that incredible auction price, there could be other examples sitting in coin jars, old collections, or even still circulating in commerce. Every 1973 quarter you encounter deserves a careful examination. Look for any distortion in Washington's portrait. Check if the coin feels larger or heavier than normal quarters. Examine the strike quality for any signs of multiple impressions or rotation. Even minor error varieties of the 1973 can be worth thousands of dollars. And if you happen to find a major error specimen, especially one in nice condition, you could be looking at a life-changing discovery. What I love about the story of these Washington quarters: the 1996 worth $24 million, the 1985 worth $29 million, the 1980 worth $34 million, and this incredible 1973 worth $41 million, is that they prove the American dream is still alive and accessible to anyone willing to pay attention and look carefully at the world around them. These aren't ancient coins hidden in archaeological sites or locked away in museums for centuries. These are modern coins that were in circulation within our lifetimes or our parents' lifetimes, coins that millions of people handled without realizing their significance. The difference between spending a fortune and building a fortune can literally be taking 5 seconds to look carefully at a coin before putting it into a vending machine. So here's what I want you to do after watching this video. Go through every quarter you can get your hands on. Check your change, search your coin jars by some rolls from your local bank, and examine them carefully. Look specifically for quarters from 1973, 1980, 1985, and 1996. And when you find examples from these years, examine them thoroughly under good lighting with a magnifying glass, if possible. Look for doubling or tripling in the portraits. Check for off-center strikes. Examine the overall size and weight. Look for rotated reverses. And most importantly, look for coins that just look wrong or unusual in some way. Those are the coins that make collectors rich. And remember, condition is absolutely critical. A rare error in worn condition might be worth thousands, but that same error in mint state condition could be worth millions. If you find anything that looks promising, do not clean it or attempt to polish it. Cleaning a rare coin destroys most of its value. Instead, take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it directly to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. The small fee they charge could be the best investment you ever make if your coin turns out to be valuable. Before I close out this video, I want to remind you to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we cover valuable coins like this every single week, and you never know when we might feature a coin that's sitting in your pocket right now. Drop a comment below telling me if you're going to search for these quarters and what year you're most excited to hunt for. Share this video with your friends and family, because someone you know might have one of these valuable quarters without realizing it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being part of the Error Coins Hunter community. And remember, the fortune you're looking for might be hiding in your change. Keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the value of the coins in your pocket. Until next time, happy hunting.